I like to be the bank, and I like to rent dirt. Those are my things. So because of that, I'm in different asset classes that allow me to do that. So we've got mobile home parks, we've got triple net lease commercial medical space, we have workforce housing, we have a debt validation fund that helps first responders and their families get out of debt. We do oil and gas to do with tax mitigation. So we're in those different asset classes, and we have our investors in those different asset classes to help now mitigate the risk inside of their portfolio.
Welcome to the Real Freedom Show, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Freedom, Real Estate Leveraged Freedom, where we talk about different ways that you can build time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Everybody's path is different. We often talk about. My goal here is that you hear these stories, you listen to people's journey, something resonates with you. And today's guest, Catherine Bell, certainly has some unique pieces to her story that we hope would inspire you and, push you to be able to take action, because there's so many things inside of real estate that we can do, a lot of different paths and journeys, and we all come from different backgrounds. But hopefully you guys get some information out of here, something that's going to inspire you to take action and build the life that you want to live. And as we'll also touch on, be able to give back and help others. And that's a big part of what makes Catherine tick as well. So Catherine is the founder of Titan Impact Group. You certainly have an awesome backstory, so I'll just kind of let you share that. But just, growing up, having a difficult childhood, being able to recognize the opportunity that's out there, grab the bull by the horns, take action, build multiple streams of income inside of real estate, having tragedy come your way again, and having some big things happen, and just being able to lean on the work that you built in real estate to be able to help your family and live the life you want to live. Obviously, making an impact with charities. I'll let you share more about that. But Catherine, we're so excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here. Where do you want to start? There's a lot
Just
to talk about.
share about your background. I think it really helps for people to understand kind of where people come from and how it shapes their story. And obviously that's a big piece for you. So take us back to the beginning a little bit, and then kind of getting into real estate, and we'll go from there.
I love that. So originally I'm born Canadian. And I was born to a teenage mother, and I was in and out of more homes than you can possibly count, and went to 13 different schools. But I didn't actually learn to read till I was in the 8th grade. But I did get straight A's because I learned very quickly. They didn't want you to think, they just wanted you to get the right answer. And I knew how to do that. I was extremely resourceful. And I ended up raising my younger brothers and got them adopted by their fathers. And then eventually I was headed down a pretty horrible path. And then when I was 16, I got myself adopted, which saved my life. And eternally grateful for my parents. And fast forward, because I was able to get myself adopted, I was able to graduate high school, go on to college, travel the world. Eventually, I met and married my husband. We got married in 2001, who's American. And so I was 26 when I came to this country with nothing. And he had a dream. And we took his dream, we turned it into a multi-million-dollar company. So by the time I was 30, I was a millionaire. Absolutely loved the American dream, loved capitalism, all that. And ended up through that period, we ended up adopting our twins out of the foster care system. And they were babies at the time. And so we were living the American dream. Everything was magical. And then we sold our company. And it was right about the same time that the economy tanked in 2008-9, and we had all of our assets. It was all one asset class, which is a part of the lesson that I want everybody to get, is making sure you diversify into different asset classes, not just different assets in that same class. So because of that, when the economy tanked, we did lose everything. So we ended up becoming homeless. So going from literally millionaires to homeless. And so at the same time, my husband got super, super sick. And so I had to go back to work to provide for our family. So I was working 80 hours a week, coming home, taking care of my sick husband, taking care of my twins. I mean, it was soul crushing for me that I couldn't be a stay-at-home mom to take care of my twins. And I knew that I couldn't keep burning the candle at both ends. So I knew the average millionaire made 7 streams of passive income, not active. So I had to figure it out. And so I just started asking a lot of questions and becoming really resourceful and creative inside of that. And so inside of all that, we ended up starting out doing buy and hold. And turns out I don't like tenants and toilets. And then we did wholesaling, which doesn't bring in consistent cash flow. I ended up running a program here in Arizona called the Flipping Females. So I partnered with women and taught them how to invest. And we flipped about 500 properties here. I love the before and after and all that. It was an obscene amount of work. Then I went on and learned that out of all the positions that you can hold in any real estate investing transaction, being the bank is the most secure. So I was like, how do you do that? So I started my own hedge fund. And then we did vacation rentals. Turns out I don't like guests and toilets. I did residential ground up, commercial ground up. We did lots of those, which was a lot of fun. And then in 2018, my husband died very tragically, leaving me a widow and a single mom. But at that point, I had created 13 streams of passive income for my family. And it was those 13 streams of passive income in different asset classes, which is the really important part, that gave me the ability to take a year off and grieve with my twins and figure out what I was going to do, right? So money is like oxygen. The more you have, the easier it is to breathe. The more you have, the easier to breathe, the bigger the difference in the world you can make. And so in that time, I got really clear about a couple of things. Is like that out of all the different types of investments, and this is the thing I want people to take away, it's like give yourself permission to try different investment classes and go full cycle and then go through a completion process that it really has you understand, what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, didn't like what are all the lessons. And by doing that completion process after each project, and if you don't know what that is, you can contact me. I'll walk you through it. Is that I got really clear from my personality that I love two things. I like to be the bank and I like to rent dirt. Those are my things. So because of that, I'm in different asset classes that allow me to do that. So we've got mobile home parks, we've got triple net lease commercial medical space. We have workforce housing. We have a debt validation fund that helps first responders and their families get out of debt. We do oil and gas to do with tax mitigation. So we're in those different asset classes and we have our investors in those different asset classes to help now mitigate the risk inside of their portfolio. Because at the end of the day, as a mom, I needed to make sure that my portfolio, no matter what was happening in the economy, it was going to be okay. And that's why we diversify. So, if at the end of the day, if we look at globally, economically, what goes on, no matter who's in office, no matter if we're in a recession or, whatever, we'll always need two things. We'll always need affordable housing. We'll always need medical care. So inside of that, that's how and why that we've diversified the way that we are diversified. And so we just keep continuing to build that and create it in such a way that investors can plug in to create those passive streams of income for their families. Again, it's passive, right? And so why do I do all that? I have 2 nonprofits because, again, the more you have, the bigger the difference you can make, right? So my first nonprofit is Bell Community Empowerment Foundation, and that is focused on that. Right now, there's over 500,000 children in the U.S. foster care system, and about 350,000 are available for adoption today, and people are not aware of this. And so it costs anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 to adopt a child. But it's very specialized adoption agencies that focus on this type of adoption. And so we're out to raise awareness and raise the money necessary for these agencies to continue to, I hate to say it, but do the marketing to get in front of the right families. Because here's the reality is that right now there's 2.1 million families looking to adopt, but they're unaware of this type of adoption. There's more than 350,000 congregations in this country that are all called to take care of widows and orphans. So the plan is that if each church takes on finding one family to adopt one child, we can get this done in our lifetime. But bigger than that, for me, I think about like my own journey. And what if 1% of those children that got families and are loved, that got so inspired just by being loved and being chosen that they decide to go make a difference in the world. That'd be 3,500 adults that go to make a huge impact in the world, just says, I am because I was loved, right? So that's a really important piece of understanding like what your why is so that you keep making the impact that you can. And I have another nonprofit called Wealth Wise Women, where we're literally teaching families and teaching women how to engage inside of the family and engage inside of investing. Because statistically, women actually make better investors than men just because we're whole brain thinkers. I always say men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti, right? Like men are able to focus on one thing and laser focus in, and they're very good at it, which we love. But women, we're like spaghetti, everything touches everything. And so, because of that, we just see the bigger picture and are able to now manage even more things and holistically around all of that. So, by doing that and having families come together to do that, it really is extraordinary in creating those multiple streams of passive income for the whole family, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to experience one, if not most of the 5 Ds. And if we don't have our financial house in order, those Ds hurt even more. So the Ds are death. We're all going to experience that. Like nobody gets out of this journey that we're on alive. But the other ones that you may experience are, so it's death, divorce, diagnosis, downsize, or being dumped from your job, right? And I hope that people don't experience those. However, if they do and their financial house is in order, it just doesn't hurt as much, right? So the other thing we were just talking about is, again, if you can add commas to your bank account, you must add those commas, because you never know when you're going to be called to make that difference that you're here to make. And a very clear, very real world example of that is a few weeks ago, the hurricane hit Asheville, North Carolina. One of my business partners is there, and his whole staff and everything. So we were like frantically texting, like, are you okay? No calls weren't getting through, messages weren't getting through. So finally a message got through that he was okay. So it's like, okay, great. And he couldn't get to his home, so he didn't know how it was going to be, all that. And so I was like, here I am in Arizona, like, what am I going to do? But I was just like, look, if there's anything I can do, please, please, please let me know. And so again, messages weren't getting through. So it happened that it was 7:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting on a call with all of the other women that I'm creating the Wealth Wise Women nonprofit with, and we're working through all the nonprofit stuff, doing all that. And his message gets through, and it's the text message says that they like their immediate need is they need food, water, fuel, and body bags. Like, what? I mean, that was like, it pierced my heart to the core. And I was just like, ladies, stop what we're doing. Here's what we're going to do. I said, they created a GoFundMe account that was going to go to all the money was going to go literally to help these families in this community. And so, and I knew it was going to happen. So I said, ladies, I don't know what we can do, but here's what I know. We're only like 1 or 2 degrees away from people who have the resources to make all this happen. So I said, put out on all your social media, text messages, email newsletters, like however you need to reach, let's reach out to our networks and let them know what we need. And let's figure out a way to make this happen. Within 48 hours, over $100,000 was raised. And we were in communication and coordinating with the United Cajun Naval Service. They deployed helicopters with food, water, fuel, and body bags immediately into that community, which was extraordinary. And I was literally just there this past weekend. We were part of a whole other thing of helping actually sell the US Constitution, which is a whole other thing. But when we were there, I was literally talking to the families that were there, and they were so grateful that the United Cajun service came in with all this stuff. Like it literally helped the community in a very, very, very real need, like in that moment. So it was because again, all of us doing what we could do, adding as many commas to our bank account, that we had the resources and the connections and everything necessary to make that happen when the government's still like stumbling over itself, trying to figure out, how to get people in there to help. We immediately were able to just do it. So again, I feel that very strong need inside of like, and we are just talking about this weekend. It's like I feel like I have a capitalist mind, but with a socialist heart coming from Canada, right? Like one is not better than the other, but together it's really extraordinary in the impact and the difference that can be made. And I feel like if we can, we must, because we never know where we're going to be called to make that impact, right? So, anyway,
Yeah.
that
That,
that's a lot I just shared, but I hope the takeaways that people are getting is one, give yourself permission to try the different asset classes. Oh, and here's the other part that I like to talk about is I always share this book, Who Not How, right? Like people ask, how do you create those 13 streams of passive income? I didn't ask how I could do it. I looked for who already knew how, and I plugged into them, and that's how I created it. So, for instance, I'm the who for a lot of people who want to know how to invest in mobile home parks or medical office or the debt validation fund or oil and gas. Like, it's rather than, again, the steep learning curve of us trying to figure out the how to do all the things, it would take a lifetime to master all that. But instead, it's when you find the who already knows how and plug into them and bring the resources there, all of a sudden now we collapse timelines and are able to catapult forward faster in adding commas to bank accounts so we can make that impact, right? So again, this is one of the brilliant things, like as moms or as parents, that we really have mastered at. Like if you look at, when we go to get our kids educated, most people go find who already knows how, meaning really good schools with good teachers. Or if our kiddos are sick, right? We don't go get a PhD. We already go find who already has a PhD and already knows how to get them better. Investing is the exact same, right? We already know who knows how to get into that type of investment, is already doing it, and we just plug in and get the benefits from making that work. So that is the piece that I want people to start thinking, working smarter rather than harder. And again, bringing diversification to their portfolio in the different asset classes. So anyway, those are my things.
well, there's a lot there for us to cover, and we could probably pick out 5 topics and do hour-long podcasts on each of them. I just want to highlight, we talk about building time and financial freedom as a way to have that flexibility. And, you're somebody that now has been able to demonstrate that, right? Like for people listening, this is why we're going through this. We know it's challenging. We know there's roadblocks. We know there's ups and downs, but being able to step in and help somebody in a time of need like that and be able to just pull resources together and to be able to deploy them, like that's why we do this. And so for people that are looking for motivation, like you can impact more than just the people right around you, just your immediate family, your extended family. There's so much more that you can do. And even just, talking about adoption, right? There's so many different ways that you helping to grow yourself in real estate can impact the world. And so you're a great example of that. Now, on the other side, people will be like, oh my gosh, like look at all these things that Catherine has going on. I could never do that, or I couldn't get started, or oh my gosh, all these different asset classes. Like, how can you do that? Maybe just start with like a beginner step. And obviously, like the who not how is a great concept, but like for somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I want to do something big in real estate, there's all these different asset classes I could do. How do I know which one's going to be the right fit for me? Because you bounced around a little bit, discovering what you didn't like to do. And that's maybe kind of my answer as well, is you do what you do and find out what you like and don't like. And eventually you get closer to kind of your North Star of what is going to be the thing that you like and resonates with you.
Yeah, I think that that's really important, is that people need to give themselves permission to try the different asset classes and go through a full cycle of each one. And then again, you glean from it, like, what worked, what didn't work, what did you learn, what would you do differently? And then you start to get really clear what resonates with you, right? So there's a really great book by Simon Sinek called Starting with Why. And when I remember the moment that I got really clear on what my why was, all of a sudden, everything that I did all of a sudden came into alignment. So for me, my why is that every project that we touch must leave every person, property, and community better than we found them. Like that is my number one benchmark. So if a project doesn't meet all that criteria, I don't touch it. I just walk away. It just becomes really clear what to say no and yes to. Steve Jobs said the thing he's the most proud of is the things he said no to, right? And so by having that clear why defined for myself, now it makes it clear when opportunities come my way, go, does it meet this? Yes, no, right? And then from there, the next steps of figuring out like what are the pieces. So so for me, does it meet that benchmark? Next is the team. The team is the most important piece. So let's just say you found the asset class. Now you're looking for the project and the team. And the team is a critical piece of making sure you do your due diligence. So having mentors has been a huge part of like my success and making sure that I vet those mentors. So there's a couple criteria when I was getting mentored by, different people. So first of all, the mentoring inside of it, are they making their money from doing the thing, or are they making their money from selling a course about doing the thing? Those are two very different criteria, right? So I wanted to see that their money was coming from doing the thing, not from selling a course about doing the thing. Again, you understand the difference there? Like that is profound. And then I would always ask to speak to at least 3 people that they have been working with for the last 6 to 12 months, that commas have been added directly to their bank account as a direct result of the mentoring. And when I asked those questions, 90% of the people couldn't even meet that criteria for those 2 pieces, right? Because again, they were just selling a course. Again, it's, Steve always says it's like a man with experience will never be held hostage by a man with a theory. And again, it's that piece of like experience comes from actually doing the thing versus the theory is just, teaching about the thing, but never actually mastering it. So that was a big piece for my whole journey. In vetting out people for myself. And then when I'm actually doing deals, I also require that we do full financial and criminal background checks on people inside of like working with people. So about a year and a half ago, I was in the middle of doing a deal and it was with 2 really wonderful gentlemen. Absolutely loved them. They were amazing. They were funny. They were likable. They're charismatic, amazing, just beautiful human beings. And they were in their late 60s, lots of experience, amazing resumes, all that. And we were putting together about $100 million deal that we were in the middle of. And so we're doing all the due diligence, flying out to all the properties, doing all that we had to. And in the meantime, I was like, look, we're doing full financial and criminal background checks on you and your, the partners in the company. And they're like, yeah, it's clean. It's clean. I was like, okay. So anyways, spent a lot of time with them, all of that. And then after a couple of weeks, we finally get the reports back from our legal team on them and the background checks of them. So they kept telling us and assuring us it was clean, it was clean, it was clean. Long story short, what came up in the report was between the 5 of them, there was 27 bankruptcies, 17 judgment liens, $14 million of investor money missing, and prison time.
Wow.
And they kept telling me it was clean. So just because somebody says something, you can trust them, but go verify. So clearly we walked away from that deal. They were pretty angry with me, but at the end of the day, my investors would be extremely grateful because I stood in the gap and protected them from that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really important to understand people's backgrounds. So, when you're doing that, ask the smart questions. One of my other favorite books that I like to share with everybody is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And I love that book. I tell people listen to it on Audible because listening to him actually talk it through, it's beyond hilarious. It's the one book that I'm literally laughing out loud all the time. But he really does an amazing job. Have you ask really brilliant questions to yourself. He says we don't need to be making more better decisions. We need to be making less stupid decisions. Like how many stupid decisions have we all made, including myself, because I didn't stop and take the time to actually think it through and ask better questions, right?
Mhm.
So it's, the better the questions we can ask, the more we're protecting ourselves and just making better choices. So those are the things that I would say. I mean, it's a lot of reading I just gave everybody, but it's that piece, like we have to do the internal work to become better at whatever it is, right? And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need a fancy college degree. You don't need all of that. This is all self-education and working with people who already know how to do the thing, right? So, like, that's the piece when people start looking, you have to shift your thinking to start thinking better. Like, oh my gosh, and I liken it to Henry Ford. Henry Ford was called into the courts, and because they said he must be doing something illegal. Nobody can be this rich. And so they're questioning him about all the things. And how do you do this? How do you do this? He's like, I don't know. But there's a whole line of telephones on my desk. I know exactly who to call to ask that question to, right? Like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I always am surrounded by people way smarter than me, thank goodness, who are showing me, like, okay, we need to do it this way, this way, this way. I'm like, okay, fantastic. And I trust and verify, so that we're strategically moving everything that we're doing forward in a very thoughtful, profitable way, so that, again, we add more commas to make a bigger impact in the world.
Well, and I think one important thing that you kind of glossed over that I hope people understand is because you're focusing on the who's to gain knowledge and learn from, you're not just going willy-nilly trying to figure things out on your own, right? Because
No.
like most
Yeah.
people, it's like, well, if I want to get into real estate investing, I've got to go figure it out and try to swing the hammer myself. Well, how much faster can you get where you want to go by talking to somebody that's built a portfolio in that area? Go do that first instead of trying to just figure it out. And like you had mentioned with the road less stupid, like, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do that probably slow down your journey where you can just kind of skip chapters 1 through 10 by going and talking to the person that's built that. And that probably is the key piece of advice here is go find the person that might be doing the thing that you want to do, talk to them, figure out how to get there versus doing it on your own and trying to figure it out on your own and pay that dumb tax or,
Yes.
inexperience tax to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a beautiful way of exactly putting it. That's exactly what I want people to get. Go find the
Yeah.
who already knows how.
Real estate agents, are you tired of letting the busyness of life get in your way from achieving your real estate investing goals? I'm super excited to announce we've created the Real Freedom Investor Agent Tribe. It's a place for you to come, get educated, and network with others so that you can make sure that you're hitting your real estate investment goals. So find out more on our website, realfreedom.com. Click on the store link. We've got a membership, we've got a mastermind group, and some private coaching as well. Check it out. I've priced it super low. The goal is to get you in, not have price be a determining factor to keep you from your goals. So come check it out, schedule a call with me, and we're happy to see where your real estate journey is going to take you. Talk a little bit about how these different streams have come together. And maybe the answer is kind of the same themes we've all talked about, but now you said 13 streams of income going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Did you just kind of pick up a lot through the relationship building that you've done?
So number one, it's all been relationships. Every single one of those. Now, people think that I started like 13 different companies. No, because it was passive. Like, here's the thing. And most of these, like, I brought relationships, sometimes capital, a lot of time, my experience, my network, everything to the table that created those 13 streams of passive income. So, for instance, when I talk about like the hedge fund, how did I become a hedge fund owner? What had happened was I was actually working for another company, and I was, busy building that company. And the owner of the company came to me and said, hey, on top of everything you're already doing, working 80 hours a week, I also want you to start my hedge fund and do all this. And I was like, so I'm not going to get paid anything extra. It's going to be more time away from my family. And you just want to add on to my workload. Like, that doesn't make sense. Could I do it? Yeah, but to what benefit? So I counter offered, and I said, well, I'll only do this if I can be part owner in the fund. Like, there's got to be some benefit to me. And he said no. And later came back and said, okay, fine. So because of my ability to project manage this whole thing. Putting the whole thing together was supposed to take like 18 months. I was able to collapse timelines and get it done in 6 months. And so bringing that skill set to the table, I now got to be an owner in a hedge fund, right? So it's the like, what else do I have in place that allows me to participate in and become an equity partner in these different deals, right? And so that's the thing to think about. Like, what is your skill set, or what is your network? What is your connections? Like, you have got resources available to you that those are valuable to somebody else, that when you come together, you can now become an equity partner inside of whatever it is and create those passive streams of income. Some of the passive streams of income I created like through affiliate programs, different things like that, like 20 years ago, are still paying out today. Right?
Mhm.
So there's ways of doing it and setting it up so that it literally is a win-win for all parties. And so we just need to be slow down and be a little more thoughtful inside of like, hold on, how can this be a win-win for all of us, not just you, because I'm giving everything away to you. Right? And
Mhm.
so that's how I created a lot of my passive streams of income.
My head's spinning. Obviously, I'm an operations person, like wanting to hear all those details behind it. But what you said on a high level makes a lot of sense for people, right? Like, yeah, go find the people, and then those relationships over time can really help each other out. Like you bring a lot of value in a conversation with somebody when you have relationships or people that you can connect people to. And then on the other side, meeting new people, there's a lot of connections that they can help connect you to. But we're all going in the same direction, right? We want to help each other grow our businesses. We want to help each other grow our lives. And through being able to kind of pass those relationships back and forth, you're creating a great network of growth, I guess.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like I really want people to understand, especially kids coming in, kids, younger people who are now coming into the workforce and stuff. And I was just having a conversation at dinner the other night with a couple of them. And it was like, look, you need to understand that your relationships are everything. So when you burn somebody, you need to understand your reputation is going to precede you. Meaning, as you get older, you never know, say 10 years from now, how when you walk into a room, that person, now that you burned them, now you actually need them. But because you destroyed that relationship, now you screwed yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like that is a
Yeah.
really important piece. And inside of the investing world, it's a small world. So when you do harm to relationships, when you don't leave people better than you found them, it will come back to bite you, right? Like
Yeah.
there's lots of people that I won't touch with a 10-foot pole because they have burned me or somebody else that I know closely in my network, right? So when you have that character, that's an issue, right? And I always tell my twins, it's like your thoughts become your words become your actions become your behavior becomes habit, your habit literally becomes your character. So when we look at our thoughts all the way through, is that the caliber of person you really want to be at the end of the day? Like being a high caliber person, it definitely is a lot more work and more discipline. But at the end of the day, 20, 30 years from now, the payout is huge because of your reputation, right? Where if you want to do things like fast and loose and, just who cares how many people you hurt or whatever, again, think about the damage that that's going to be 20, 30, 40 years from now. Our character is everything. So pay attention to that and how you are or are not leaving every person, property, and community better than you found them.
I've got a page of notes myself just on everything that you've taught me throughout this episode here. But people that want to reach out to you, obviously you're a wealth of information. You've got a ton of great relationships to connect people with. And for people listening to this that want to get started, how can they reach out to you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. My company is Titan Impact Group. So you can find me there. I'm all over social media. Catherine Bell happens to be a famous actress and, a very famous name. But again, Titan Impact Group and Catherine Bell, and you'll find I've got copious amounts of videos and all sorts of fun that people can watch. And yeah, whatever you need, I'm here to happily collaborate and connect. And connecting is my superpower. So I've made lots of connections for you. And again, it's
Mhm.
like you never know how amazing all these things and communities can come together to make magic.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think for people too, to see people can get a leg up based on how they were born, where they were born, and that background. But at the same time, for somebody like you were able to do all that despite your upbringing, and you had mountains to climb. And so for people listening to this, anything's possible. You just got to work at it. And so you're
Yeah,
just a
because
great inspiration for that.
yeah, it's not about resources, it's about resourcefulness. How resourceful are you? Like that's what it
Mhm.
comes down to. Because honestly, what happens to us, there's nothing we can do about that. But what we choose to do about it, 100% is our responsibility. So yeah, I don't know, to me, there's no excuse. So don't call me if you want to cry about your circumstances.
Yeah. Call you if they want to be inspired to grow, for sure.
Or be held accountable and have their butt kicked. I'm happy to do that.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for coming on and sharing. And yeah, for people listening, please reach out to her, and you certainly can help a lot of people. So thank you so much for taking the time and coming on.
Thank you. I so love what you're doing and sharing all these stories. This is magic. Thank you.